In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the radiator in this Toyota Corolla. Let's get into it. Before you start this job, make sure you bring the vehicle to a local shop to have the refrigerant extracted. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to take components apart. There's going to be refrigerant that's pressurized in there, so you want to get that removed. Take this grill off, use some trim tools, and just pop these pins out. And right here, now take this bolt out, use a 10mm socket. Now grab the grill and just slide it forward. It's just clipped in. Now we're going to take this line off, use a 10mm socket, take this bolt out. And just grab the line and just wiggle it out a little bit. You're going to hear a little bit of hiss. That's because there's a vacuum on the system. Just a little bit. There's no pressure, so that's okay. So that's loose. And using a 10mm socket, take this line off down below. Pull the bolt out. Grab the line. Just wiggle it a little bit and slide it out. Just going to use a trim tool and just pry it out a little bit. Just work it back and forth. There we go. Set that aside. Take these two brackets out. Use a 12mm socket. Pop that off. Pull the hood prop retainer out. Just use a pick or a screwdriver and just push the two little tabs in. Just like that. Using a 10mm socket, take these two bolts out. One here, one over here. There's a hose that goes over here. Just take that hose out. And it is clipped in. You just use a pick and unclip it. And it slides right up. We'll grab the condenser. And it slides out. We're going to take this panel off underneath, use a 10mm socket, take these screws out. Back here, there's a clip that you have to pull down. Over here, just use a pick, just pop that out, just like that. Slide that down and out of the way. There's a push pin right here, just pop this one out. There. Then we can just tip this down. We don't have to take this whole panel off. And then we can access the drain right here. I'm just going to put a hose on the end of it. There's a little spout for the drain. You don't have to do this. You can just drain it and it'll be fine, but this will be a little more accurate drain. Now I'm going to loosen up the drain, twist it out, open that up. It's all going to drain out. Now you can take off the upper radiator cap. Now we can close that valve and grab the hose. You can pull that off. We're going to disconnect this radiator hose right here. Just use some hose clamp pliers. Slide the hose clamp off. And just block that off. Oops, you might get some coolant. Underneath here, on the passenger side, we want to take this panel down, at least pull it down a little bit. Take some push pins out. Just use a trim tool or a push pin removal tool. There should be one there and one there. Then you can tip this down, out of the way. Using some hose clamp pliers, take off the lower radiator hose on the passenger side. Just slide that up. And once you take this off, make sure you have a drain bucket because there might be some coolant come out of here as well. And not too much coolant, so that's good. Slide that hose out of the way. Now we're going to take this hose off. This attaches to the top part of the radiator here. You just want to squeeze that clamp. Needle nose pliers works the best for this. Just slide that clamp down, twist, slide that hose out of the way. Now we're going to disconnect the electrical connector right here. Just push down on the tab, slide that off. If you need to, you can use a pick. Just push that down. And it's attached right here. We'll just use a trim tool. Just pry this out. Take that off and set that aside. Before we slide this all the way up, you want to take the ambient air temp sensor off. There is a little clip right here. If you just push that button, this whole sensor and clip slides off. And slide this up and out of the way. We're going to take this reservoir hose off, just like that. Then we'll tip this upside down. Underneath, if you have one of these pads, you want to take this off, put it back in the vehicle. Then we're going to take these two bolts out using a 10mm socket. One there. Oh, that one broke. That's okay. And then slide the fan shroud off. We can transfer it to the new radiator. Take the new radiator and put the fan on. Same way it came off. Just get it lined up. Looks good there. Get the bolts started. And snug those down. And put this hose on. And if one of these popped off on the radiator, you can put this back in this location. There's one on each side. Now slide this down in position. Move the wires out of the way. And line it up with the grommets. All right, those are in. We can connect the connector up here. Line this up. Lock it down. Push tab in. The outside temp sensor. Line this up. Just push that bracket in place. Now put the hose on. Slide that in position. Slide it down. Using hose clamp pliers, we'll slide the clamp back down. That's good right there. And if your vehicle had a transmission cooler, then you're going to want to hook those hoses up. This vehicle doesn't have one, so we just have these little caps on here, and that's okay. Nothing has to be done with those. Now take this hose, we'll reposition this. I'm just going to put the hose clamp on first. Hose clamp tool. Line it up and push it on. There we go. Line that up. And that's good. Now put these shields back in place and the push pins. Lock those down. This one as well. Now this shield's gonna go in place. Slide this up there. Get this lined up. You can clip it into those shields. Now I'll take the bolts, get these started. And these bolts, make sure everything lines up. I'll snug these down. Now install the condenser, just slide it in position. Line the boots up down below, that's good. Now take this hose, line this up, and then slide that over. Now take this piece, line this up, this upper support goes through the condenser. That's lined up. And it clips into the fan. Line that up, it clips in. And put the two bolts in. Get those started. And we'll tighten those down. Now this hose slides in place. Get that lined up. Put these mounts on. Put the bolts in. Snug those down. I'm going to take a little bit of AC oil, put it on the O-rings. It's a good idea to replace the O-rings. And line the line up. Wiggle it back and forth a little bit. And take the bolt, get that started. And I'll snug that down. That's good. Take the top line, line it up, and snug it in place. Put the bolt in, and snug it down. That's good. Take the grill, line it up, and push it back. You want to lock it in place. Just push it in so it clips in. Now put this screw in, tighten it down. And the two side push pins, push those in place. Take this clip, line it up, lock it down. Now you want to bring the vehicle to your local shop that you had the refrigerant removed and have them reinstall the refrigerant. At this point you want to add the coolant, take the cap off, add the appropriate coolant. When it is full, you want to make sure the reservoir is full as well. There is a line on the side Then you want to run the vehicle for about 10 to 15 minutes, monitoring the vehicle's temperature and making sure it doesn't overheat. Once it's up to operating temperature and you feel warmth coming out of the dash, shut the vehicle down, let it cool, and adjust the levels accordingly.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.